In this presentation, we'll cover the inquiry commands. Commands such as distance and ID point, area, list. Those are probably the most important commands that you know from the inquiry toolbar. The inquiry toolbar is this small little toolbar which I'll drag out. So if you don't have it turned on, it's important that you would turn it on. And starting on the left-hand side of the toolbar, you'd have the distance command, then you'd have the area command. Region or mass properties is more for 3D objects, more mechanical usage also. Then you also have list and locate point. So the two on the far left and the two on the far right are the ones that you'd probably use. I'm going to drag this back up and place it at the top. And to start with, I'm going to go through the distance command. So I'll click on distance. This is used to identify what the distance is from one point to another. And it doesn't have to be on an entity. So if I wanted the distance from one corner of this rectangle to the other corner of the rectangle, it would give me the distance, and you have to look at the command line. And at the command line it says the distance is 4.3324. And it also says the angle is 28. Now those distances and angles are going to give you the precision of whatever the precision set at for the units in that drawing. So my measurement units must be 4 decimal places, yet my angle must be set to the nearest degree. So you can adjust the precision if you want up under format. And again, that would be format units. So the precision for the measurements or lengths would be found here, and the precision for the angles would be found there. I'm just going to leave it set like that, and I'm going to say OK. So distance will find the distance between any 2 points, and the precision will be as accurate as the precision set in your units. When you're selecting your points, to make sure that your accuracy is very high also, you would want to make sure that you're using object snap and snap to the endpoints or intersections like I did earlier. So to do that again, I'll go distance. What's the distance from this end of the line to the one right above it? It's exactly 0.625, which is the same as 5/8 of an inch. So the decimal there is 0.625, and it's at 90 degrees. It's basically straight above it. Now, could you check distances on a specific line? Yes. If I want to know the distance from one end of this line to the other end of that line, it's exactly 9 units long, and the angle in the XY plane is 0 degrees. So I know that it's a flat 0 degrees, and it is 9 units long. Now, jumping to the next command here, the list command, I'm going to select list, and I will select that same line and hit enter. And basically, if I go down here where it says length, it tells me that that is 9 units long. So the length of that line is 9 units long. Now, list gives you database information about an object. It also invokes the AutoCAD text window automatically to center up on your screen, and it tells you additional information about that object that you selected. It tells you the layer that it's in that case right here it's layer 0, and it also tells you the start points and stop points. It tells you the length of it and the angle in the XY plane. So it gives you a little bit more information. To get rid of that screen, again, you just hit F2, or you could hit the red X, and it goes away. So it provides similar information. Now the thing that the list command cannot provide is like the distance across open spaces. Like I did earlier, if I did the distance from one corner of this rectangle to another corner, up here in the command line, the distance is 4.3324. The list command cannot give me that information. It'll give me the perimeter of that object, or the length of a line, or the radius of a circle, or the circumference of a circle, but it will not give me distances across open space. That's exclusive to the distance command. Another thing to note with the distance command, going back to that, is that you need to have up here in the command line at least 3 lines showing up. So if you need to adjust that, you just click and drag. Like if you only had 2 lines, you just click and drag till you get 3. So you go to your command line, make sure you have 3 lines, because otherwise you won't see distance. You'll just see delta X and delta Y and delta Z, and that's not what you want. You want 3 lines so you can see the distance and the angle. Okay, so if I go back to list, simply like selecting objects, if I list a circle, again, down here, it tells me a circle. It's in layer 0. Here's the center point. Here's the radius, circumference, and area of that circle. It gives me all kinds of database information about the circle. Hit the X or F2 to close. Same thing if I list the hexagon. It tells me it's a LW polyline. So it doesn't tell me that it's a pentagon, but it knows that it's some kind of complex polyline structure. And it's on layer 0. Constant width is 0, so it treats it like a polyline. Then it also tells you the area of that and the perimeter of that, and it tells you all the vertexes listed down below. So I'm going to hit F2 to close that. So that is the list command. ID point, more mechanical, but if you needed to use that, if you click ID point and you pick, say, the center of a circle, all it's going to tell you is that the center of that circle is specifically 9.5090 X coordinate and the Y coordinate is 5.1537. So it just identifies a specific point in a drawing, wherever that point might be that you select. So that's ID point, somewhat irrelevant for us. Then you get to the last one, and the last command is the area command that I want to cover. If you go to area and you select O for object, and you select, say, the rectangle, it tells you the area inside that rectangle, and it ends the command. So the area is 7.7900, and the perimeter is 11.7217 units. Again, I go up to area, O for object, so I type O, enter, it tells me the area of the hexagon, up at the command line. I go to area again, and I can say O for object, and I have an object down here that's a polyline, so when I select that, the area of that polyline is 4.5, and the length is 11 units around the perimeter of that object. Okay, so area provides good information about different entities. And I'm going to walk through the steps in case you have a circle. I'm going to put a circle in the center of this rectangle. I'm going to walk through the steps where you can add and subtract right inside AutoCAD. Personally, I would recommend just figuring out what is the area of the rectangle and write it down, and then what is the area of the circle inside the rectangle and write that down. And if you want to know the difference between the two, or what's the area around the circle, not including the circle inside the rectangle, I would do manual subtraction to figure out what that is. But you can do it in AutoCAD. It gets a little confusing, but here's how it will work. Go up to area. I say A to add. So I want to add to 0. And I want to add an object. I add the rectangle. So from 0, the area of that point is 7.79. Then I'm still in the add mode. So it says select objects. I'm done, so I hit enter. Then I say S to subtract, O for object, and then select the circle. And when I'm done, I hit enter. I hit enter again. I can hit F2 to look at my screen, and I need to look down here. First I'm adding, so here's where I added the information. Then we subtracted information, and then it says total area remaining. So the total area inside the rectangle, not including the circle, would be 6.5779. So it would take the first one, 7.79, subtract the second one, which is 1.2121, and you should end up with 6.5779. So you can do it right inside AutoCAD, but it just gets a little confusing. It might be easier to do the area, write it down, do the second area, write it down, do manual subtraction. That's what I do. Just as easy, just as quick most of the time. So if you have any questions regarding the distance command, the list command, ID point, or the area commands, make sure to contact me. Otherwise, this will wrap up the presentation for inquiry commands.